Spain's manager publicly confirmed that Lamine Yamal was in perfect condition the day before their World Cup opener. Then Luis de la Fuente left the 18-year-old on the bench for 70 minutes, played a central midfielder on the left wing, made 0 changes at halftime, and watched the European champions play out a 0-0 draw with Cape Verde, a country of 500,000 people that had never played a single World Cup match in their entire history. And when the final whistle blew, De La Fuente walked into the press conference and told the world he had no regrets. This is the story of how Spain's World Cup almost fell apart before it even started, why Yamal was watching from the touchline while his teammates were running out of ideas, and what this entire night reveals about the real problem inside the Spanish camp that nobody wants to say out loud. To understand just how strange Monday night felt, you need to go back 24 hours. On Sunday, the day before Spain kicked off their campaign against Cape Verde in Atlanta, Luis de la Fuente stood in front of the media and was asked directly about Lamine Yamal's fitness. He had been injured since late April, a hamstring problem that forced him out of Barcelona's final weeks of the La Liga season. Spanish fans had spent weeks watching his training updates like they were medical bulletins. There was genuine concern. De La Fuente addressed it clearly. "Lamine Yamal is ready to play a few minutes," he said, "and our medical team agrees with that decision. Otherwise, he wouldn't even be on the bench. Not, we're managing him carefully. Not, we'll see how he feels on the day." He was ready. The medical staff agreed, and De La Fuente chose to start someone else. That someone else was Gavi, a central midfielder deployed on the left wing. Ferran Torres was given the central striking role. Mikel Oyarzabal started alongside him. It was a starting 11 that raised eyebrows before a ball had been kicked. Within 15 minutes of the match beginning, those raised eyebrows had turned into open confusion in the stands. What followed for the next 70 minutes was a masterclass in having everything and creating nothing. Spain are built to keep the ball. They are designed to suffocate opponents with movement and recycling and patient probing until the space is open. Against Cape Verde, the space is never opened. Cape Verde arrived in Atlanta with a single purpose: keep their shape, defend their lines, and force Spain to find a solution they did not have. Spain, for the majority of this match, simply did not have one. Gavi on the left wing meant Spain lacked the direct running and width that stretches a defensive block. Ferran Torres missed 2 significant chances when they did arrive. Oyarzabal barely registered a meaningful contribution in the entire first half. Cucurella and Pedri were the 2 players who occasionally found moments. But moments are not enough when a team is set up to give you nothing in the final third. The most telling detail came at halftime. Spain had not scored. They had created enough chances to feel the game should have been put to bed, but the goalkeeper at the other end, more on him shortly, had made sure it was not. A normal manager at this point makes a change. Introduces energy, shifts the shape, sends a message to the dressing room that something has to give. De La Fuente walked back out for the second half with the same 11 players, the same shape, and the same problems. While all of this was happening, Lamine Yamal was warming up on the touchline. The cameras found him repeatedly, glancing toward the pitch, tracking the ball, waiting. The crowd in Atlanta had been restless through the first half. Every time Yamal appeared in the camera frame, the noise lifted slightly, a kind of collective exhale that said, "Surely now. Surely this is the moment." The moment kept not coming. When the 71st minute finally arrived and Yamal came on alongside Mikel Merino, the reaction inside the stadium told you everything. It was not a cheer. It was a release. An entire stadium breathing out at once. And here is where the story gets more complicated, because what Yamal did in those 19 minutes was simultaneously brilliant and ultimately not enough. He was immediately the best player on the pitch. His first touch went at a defender. He drew a foul in a dangerous position. He created a genuine chance for Marino that should have been converted. He gestured to the fans to raise the volume. He played, in short, exactly like a player who should have been out there from the first whistle. But here is the thing nobody wants to say about Monday night. Even with Yamal on, Spain still could not score. And the reason for that sits entirely at the other end of the pitch. Vozinha is 40 years old. He plays his club football in the Portuguese second division. He turned 40 2 weeks before this World Cup began, which made him the oldest player on the pitch by some distance. And for 90 minutes in Atlanta, he was the best goalkeeper anyone in that stadium had seen in years. 7 saves. 7 separate moments where Spain thought they had found their goal. And Vozinha reached back into 2 decades of experience and said no. He read angles and trajectories with the stillness of someone who has spent his entire career learning what a striker is thinking before they pull the trigger. By the time the final whistle blew, he had gained millions of social media followers and become one of the most talked about people on the planet. Spain's problem was not just De La Fuente's decision, it was that even when the best player on the pitch was running at the defense, there was a 40-year-old goalkeeper standing in the way. Even Yamal, in a post on Instagram hours after the final whistle, kept his language careful. He wrote, "We add a point, not we won, not we're fine, a point." In the post-match press conference, De La Fuente offered 2 quotes that will define the conversation around Spain's World Cup for the next week. The first was about the result. "This team is reliable, whatever happens. We have not lost in 32 matches. We will be better in the next game, for sure. When you lack freshness and getting the final ball right, this can happen." The second was about Yamal and Nico Williams, who came on in the 87th minute with barely enough time to receive a pass. "We are building the best fitness condition for them. They are improving, for sure." That phrase, building the best fitness condition, is the one that should make Spanish fans nervous. What it means, translated plainly, is this. De La Fuente is treating the World Cup group stage as a warm-up program. He is managing his 2 most dangerous attacking players toward peak fitness for the knockout rounds. The gamble is that Spain can survive Group H without them at full capacity, and that when it matters most, against France, against Brazil, against whoever they meet in the final, Yamal and Williams will be ready to win a World Cup. It is not a completely unreasonable idea. Spain still have Saudi Arabia and Uruguay to play in the group. 2 wins and they advance. They have the squad to do it even without their 2 best attackers at full sharpness. But they dropped 2 points on Monday night against a team nobody outside Cape Verde expected to get anything from this tournament. And they did it with their manager insisting, in public, on the record, that the player who changed the game in the final 20 minutes was fit enough to have started. If Spain slip up again in their remaining group games, that contradiction is going to become the story that swallows the entire tournament for them. Spain's next group game is against Saudi Arabia. After that, Uruguay. If De La Fuente's plan works, nobody will remember a 0-0 draw with Cape Verde. If it doesn't, if Spain are knocked out before the final 8, this night in Atlanta will be the moment everyone points back to. The European champions have a design problem right now. And a 40-year-old goalkeeper with 7 saves just put it under the brightest possible spotlight. If you want to follow this story as it develops, you know where to find us.